So, good evening, everybody. Today, I want to discuss the second part of neural systems. In my previous day, I had discussed about the Neet-based discussions of the first part of neural control and coordination chapter. But today, I want to discuss the next portions of that chapter, which is very crucial, and the NEET students or the students who have taken PPR, they should have to carefully enough to that particular portions. The first portions what I want to discuss, that is the ventricles of brain. Ventricles of brain. So what is the meaning of ventricles of brains? This means the four cavities within the brain are called cerebri ventricles. So like heart, we see there are four cavities in brain, which is called the cerebri ventricles. And if we look forward towards the locations of that particular ventricle, that we can find it that ventricle 1 is basically present to the right cerebral hemisphere, which is called the lateral ventricle. So the right cerebral hemisphere, whenever we go to the cerebral cortex, the portions of the forebrain or porsencephalon, then we find the ventricle 1. So this is located actually to the right cerebral hemisphere. Now I come to the ventricle 2, that presents to the left cerebral hemisphere, and ventricle 3 presents to the diencephalon. We know whenever we have classified forebrain or prosencephalon into telencephalon and diencephalon, then we get it that is the ventricle 3 is actually presents to the diencephalon. And diencephalon contain which portions? It contains thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus, and metathalamus. So this portion is basically included within diencephalon. Okay. And ventricle 4 presents to the just between the brainstem and cerebellum. We know brainstem, that is midbrain pons media, and cerebellum. So just between that, it contains the fourth ventricle. And we know the ventricle 1, 2, and 3 are connected by foramen of Monro. Ventricle 1, 2, and 3 are connected by foramen of Monro, whereas ventricle 3 and 4 are connected by cerebri aqueduct. So whenever we have classified demarcations of the different area of brain, that is the frontal part to parietal part. That is the fissure of Royando. We know that is the central sulcus, and the parietal, the occipitary region. The region is the parieto-occipital fissure. And whenever the temporary, whenever the parieto-occipital, whenever that portions we come, that is the parieto-occipital fissures, and whenever the parietal to temporary, that is the fissures of aqueduct. So whenever the students will read to that portions, they should have to carefully enough what is the functions of cerebral cortex. The first, the voluntary functions, area 4, area 6, and area 8. And then the motor functions, different motor functions have been done by it. And the intellectual reflex, that is the thinking, the intellectual capability, or the memory formations, everything is actually done by cerebral cortex. Okay. So cerebral cortex will play a very crucial role in case of human. And then we come to the thalamus, and whenever we come to the aspect of thalamus, then we need to grow up our concept about ventricle. So whenever we come to the aspect of thalamus, then we have recommended it that place is basically just under the cerebral cortex and the upper portions of the midbrain, and just the landmark is the third ventricle. Third ventricle is very so students should have to grow up a knowledge, a proper knowledge about third ventricle. And whenever we come to the aspect of hypothalamus, that is the region of the under the third ventricle, as well as the region of the region of the thalamus, just under the thalamus. Hypothalamus is present, and thalamus contain 5 nuclei, and hypothalamus contain different nuclei, but within them, supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus is very much important for NEET students. And they will know that hypothalamus is actually extended from upper chiasma to mammary body region, mammary region. Okay, and they will grow up their knowledge. How do the hypothalamus control the autonomic nervous system? That is the parasympathetic and sympathetic functions is actually how do it regulate by the hypothalamus? How the body temperature is regulated? What are the functions of anterior nucleus and posterior nucleus? And how do they by doing sweating or perspiration, they will decline the body temperature? How do the hypothalamus act as a thermostat? Or different satiety center, feeding center, water balance center. So different functions is actually how do it regulate by the hypothalamus. We know it plays a very crucial role in cardiovascular regulations, but basically the metabolisms of carbohydrate, and the stomach acid secretions by stomach. And the feeding functions. So every functions basically done by hypothalamus. We know. So whenever we come to the aspect of hypothalamus, then the landmark is the pituitary gland. So hypothalamus is the supreme commander, and hypothalamus will do the functions by the help of pituitary. As pituitary is the master gland, so hypothalamo-pituitary axis, such as for gonad, hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis. So hypothalamus plays a very crucial role here, because it commands, the supreme commander is hypothalamus, and it will do its functions by the help of pituitary. So hypothalamus and thalamus is very essential, and we know the all ascending tracts will give projections go through the thalamus, except olfactions, we know. So thalamus and hypothalamus will play a very pivotal role, and it is very important for Neet student. Thank you.